with another video blog of my Rutgers adventures here. Um, for those who saw my Facebook status, it did say something about me catching a criminal or helping catching a criminal, something like that Friday night. Well, here's the full story. I did help catch a criminal, I guess, in a way, but what happened was there was this guy, Oscar. For a month now, he's been trying to come into the fitness center, into the gym on campus without his Rutgers ID. Now, with protocol, a lot of rules there, like you need your Rutgers ID, but if you don't and it's an absolute emergency, you just lost it or whatever, we could take IDs once in a while. That's fine. So he first time he gives us his ID, and you know, he gives us his driver's license. We check it in the computer. He's a student, and he goes by. But later on, we hear over the radio that we have somebody downstairs causing trouble, in the wrestling room. So the supervisors go downstairs, check who it is. It's Oscar, the guy with his driver's license. He apparently was looking for like wrestle offs, and he went downstairs for the wrestle offs, stripped down into his boxers, and tried to wrestle the wrestling team. So so the supervisor brings him up. They're talking to him, telling him he can't do that, so on and so forth. And like the next time he comes in, he needs his Rutgers ID. All right, point blank, it was made known to him that he needs his Rutgers ID in order to prove that he's a student. So for the after that, for like a month, within the month, he's still trying to get into the gym. Trying to get into the gym, still trying to get on the wrestling team. He says that he spoke to the coach, but the coach doesn't even know who he is. So obviously something's wrong with Oscar. Something's not going on upstairs. But long story short, Friday, I'm at the back desk, swiping people in. He comes through. He gives me his driver's license. And just before I tell him he has to go to the front to get his driver's license checked out, I notice his name, Oscar, and I notice that he wasn't supposed to come in without Rutgers ID. So I tell him that he can't come in without Rutgers ID, and he starts arguing and debating with me. So I tell him that I can call the supervisor and get it squashed. So he agrees, and I call the supervisor. Supervisor comes to the back, tells him the same thing. For like another 5 minutes, Oscar's debating with the supervisor, saying, "Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that?" Da 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 da. He's coming up with a whole bunch of BS excuses to why he hadn't had it done. So supervisor's like, "You still can't come in without your Rutgers ID." All right, good. So he leaves. Later on, I'm at the front desk. I'm talking to my coworkers, and Oscar comes back in through the front. But this time, he has a Rutgers ID, which means he took the time that he wasn't willing to take before to go get his Rutgers ID, to pay whatever money he had to do to replace the one he lost, or whatever the case is. Like, it took him a whole month to actually get that done. So, he finally got it. He comes in, he shows me his Rutgers ID. And I check the face, it's him. I check the name, it's him. I swipe it, and it swipes through. What more was I to do? My job was to swipe people in, and if it swipes, they're good. So I let him go. Like, not even 2 minutes later, I hear that I hear over the radio somebody from the fitness center is calling for the supervisor, saying that Oscar is downstairs in the wrestling room again, trying to wrestle the wrestling team, stripped down to his boxers and everything. So of course I'm like, this again. It's like, really, he doesn't get the hint. He's not taking it that he's not on the team. So, so what happens is, like, we had two supervisors at the time, and the supervisors go downstairs and they check with him, and they go to get him and bring him back upstairs. Now the supervisor asks, who let him in, and I was like, I did, but he had his Rutgers ID, which was there's a big yellow post-it at the desk saying that he's not allowed in without Rutgers ID. So technically, I did my job. So They bring him upstairs. They're talking to him. He's debating with them. Meanwhile, someone had called RUPD on Oscar. So RUPD comes in. 3 cops came through. Takes his IDs. His driver's license and his Rutgers ID. Checks him in. Trying to check him in headquarters. See if he has like a record or anything. And next thing I know, well, me and the other coworkers were kind of laughing under our breath, just be like, this is the most exciting last hour of our shift, for the day. So, like, as the event goes on, I noticed that one of the cops asked him to drop his book bag. Drops his book bag, the other cop pulls out handcuffs and starts cuffing him. Now, all of us are like, whoa, what's going on? What the hell is going on? Just like just for not having your RUID. Turns out that the cops had a warrant out for his arrest because I guess wherever he works he had like some outstanding tickets, a number of outstanding tickets. So I was like, wow, like these are a lot of tickets, like parking tickets and probably other tickets that he hadn't paid off. I was like, oh snap. So they cuff him, they grab his stuff and they escort him out. And that was the end of it. Now, at first, I'm like, I let him in, that's my fault. I'm gonna get yelled at and this and that and that. But one of my coworkers were like, well, you know what? If you hadn't have let him in, the cops wouldn't have caught him because apparently, obviously, the cops were looking for him. So now I'm like, that makes sense. I kind of did help, catch a criminal. If I had to let him in, they wouldn't have caught him. So of course my supervisor's like, no, you shouldn't have let him in to begin with. Da, 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 da. So I'm like, you know what? There's a big yellow post-it that still says, uh, he's not allowed in without Rutgers ID. Now apparently he wasn't supposed to come in at all without our building bosses, um, like permission. Somebody should have changed the yellow note and said that, or made it very clear to all the workers that that was the case, as opposed to he's not allowed in without Rutgers ID. So, technically, that wasn't my fault. Now, if I do have fault in it, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was a mistake. It won't happen again. But I'm like, you know what? But that's kind of not my fault because I did do my part. I did my job. So, yeah, that's how I helped catch a criminal. Did not think my job would be that exciting, but you know what? I'm glad it is. I can't say I had that much excitement back at county college, but I mean, the jobs are pretty exciting in its own way. Just rejecting someone because they don't have their ID is can be pretty, stressful and exciting in its own way because it's like I want to work out. Well, you don't have proper ID. Well, can't you just let me in for the day? No. And watching these meatheads go off because they can't work out. Now, personally, if that was me, if somebody said I didn't have to work out for the day, I'd go grab me a burger and let it go. It's not even that big of a deal. But you know how people are. But that's the excitement, that's the adventure that I just encountered. And stay tuned because there are definitely a lot of stories I want to share with you guys. There are definitely a lot of things I want to bring up in my video blogs and document. I definitely want you guys to stay tuned and keep up with me. All right? Definitely. Aaron here, and Aaron out.